The number one question that ACCA candidates, before they take up the course, they ask is, what kind of salary will I get? And I don't know whether it's because we live in India or it's something which is a student mentality and a student phenomena worldwide. But while there is a lot of merit to this question, and in this video, I'm going to take you through all the things that you require to understand what kind of salary does an ACCA fresher get. I just want to start this video with some suggestions to everybody watching that while your first salary is definitely important and in every way, psychologically, monetarily, it feels like a big win when your first job is a great job. I have seen the most successful people in my life, friends, other founders, people I've networked with over time. Many of them did not start with the top salary. And a lot of people who did start with very great salaries generally are not always making it very big in life. So remember that the first salary is never a criteria for what you're going to do in your life. With that said, let me jump into what kind of salaries do ACCA freshers earn in India as well as overseas. So the first type of question is, what type of companies do ACCS get hired in, starting with India, and then we'll come to overseas? Well, starting from my example, right? I worked in first, but during my studies, I worked in a mid-sized firm or typical CA firm. They barely even knew about ACCA, but because as an intern, as an article, you are really not expecting much in return, which is an important lesson, right? If you are in that 18 to 22 age range, and you started ACCA, do not worry about the first stipend, the first, not even salary, your internship pay. That can be negligible, right? Back in the day, I was earning 6,000 rupees per month, and that's it. And I managed that for 3 years. Each year, they would hike up my salary by 500 rupees, right? So it was 6,000, 6,500, 7,000 for an entire year each month. But after that, because I completed my ACC and I had 3 years of experience, I landed up getting a job in a company called PwC. PwC is one of the big four. So you have KPMG, Deloitte, EY, and PwC. These four, first of all, have the highest number of ACCA hirees that they do in India. And I'm going to come to profiles in a bit. But the big four, they are considered as, imagine if you're in the field of technology, Meta, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. So for a what for a technology student, what these companies are, that's what for an ACC or a C or a commerce student, the big four are. They are the biggest in the world, considered the most reputable companies, and they hire ACCs immense. Beyond that, there are other companies, and by the way, the domain that they fall under, you can call it under consulting, under accounting, under auditing, under advisory. All of these being the same thing. So, like that, the next few big companies are called Grant Thornton and BDO. Once again, they're as big as the big four, but just next in line. Once again, they've hired so many people that I know, right from our faculties to majority of our students, and they all work in what we call these big six companies. Besides this, let's come to other international companies. We have students who have worked in all types of, whether you talk about companies like Amazon and Apple, you talk about banks like Citibank, Bank of America, Standard Chartered. You have students working in all these. When it comes to Indian companies, they've worked, let's start with banks again. I know ACCS who worked with Kotak Mahindra, who worked with Motilal Oswal, who worked with financial services companies like Anand Rathi, and once again the list goes on and on. One of our faculty members is a chief financial officer, a CFO of a company called ABANS. ABANS is a financial securities company, a 2,000 crore company that's situated out of Mumbai at Nariman Point, and he's the CFO over there. Before that, I knew somebody who's working in real estate in a group called Embassy Group. You can go into real estate, you can go into consulting, you can go into the usual chartered accounting kind of work, but ACCs are basically eligible every year. For over and above that, you can start your own companies, right? So besides me, I know some students of mine. One of my students, Neil Merchant, he started his own investment banking firm and he's really killing it. Before that, he was working at Deloitte. I have another student, Rashesh, who has now started an AI company to help corporates with building their presentations. And he himself is an ACC who used to work with us only before. Guys, long story short, if you're an ACCA, whether you want to take a typical CA route, you want to find your own pathway in industry, which has nothing to do with the CA universe, but you want to help businesses in the field of finance and accounts, or you want to start your own thing, all of these are possible if you are an ACC. Next comes something which everybody loves asking is, what is the salary package? So if you are an ACCA member, which means you have completed your PER. If you don't know what PER is, please begin multiple videos on it. Have a look because it is any qualification in the world, just like CA requires 3 years of articleship, ACCA also requires internship experience or work experience. People who are looking at work experience on an average get 3 to 4 lakhs from day one when you have zero work experience, which no, like I said, as a CA, I would get 6,000 rupees a month. ACCA members are getting 50 to 20,000, sometimes even 25 to 30,000 from day one. So already you are winning if you are studying ACCA and you're looking at salary. However, that is still in the initial internship or work experience phase. Once you are done and you become a member, which means you completed your experience of 3 years plus all the ACC papers and you become a member, your salary shoots up. It starts anywhere between 6 to 7 lakhs on average and can go all the way up to 12 lakhs. I know students who are freshers, they've just completed their ACC exams and their work experience, and they're getting salary packages at 9 lakhs, at 12 lakhs, sometimes even slightly higher when you take into account things like ESOPs. So again, it goes on and on. You have a lot of opportunity when it comes to salary packages. Once you grow a little past the fresher phase, like I was saying, people are starting to make 50 lakhs, sometimes in CRs basis. So if you talk about the CA post, you talk about people who become a partner equivalent in some companies, directors in companies or founded their own companies, they are in a position to really, really make wealth for themselves at a relatively early age. Next, when it comes to what kind of profiles. So if you get into the CA or the typical route, which by the way is awesome, it's the highest level of professionalism, and the people I have the most respect for, in at least the in my life who I've met, they're the ones who have worked for these kind of companies, worked diligently and grown step by step, and who before they know it, they really reach a point where they are at very low risk, managing a lot of assets, a lot of people, a lot of wealth, and themselves making a lot of money. So, how do you go into these positions? Well, the profiles you take, right? So, simply put, ACCA, one of the most popular ones is audit. Audit is split into statutory audit, which you can get into any, like almost all the big companies are willing to hire ACCAs as statutory auditors. Second is internal audit. Internal audit generally happens with not just these kind of companies, but any company, any major big company that is not in the consulting world. You can take any of these banks, you can take any of these companies. Even if you take a company like Zell, we require what we call internal auditors. Once again, I know one of our faculty members has been an internal auditor as a fresher in a company called Productivity. So again, and this is an Indian company. I remember the salary package is quite fascinating. So you can get to internal audit. One of the more popular profile that has come up is something called forensic auditing. Many people love it because it's about how to detect financial fraud and stuff like that. And because of the digital world growing and digital ecosystem growing and so many cyber crimes happening, they need people who can actually navigate through how these scams have happened, how these frauds have happened, and they're called forensic auditors. So ACCA has the option, if you get into audit, to look at all these three audit options. Next, when you talk about advisory, you can get into accounting advisory, which is all about IFRS, which ACCA is like the primary body in the world, education body in the world for IFRS. There is accounting advisory, risk advisory, there's mergers and acquisition, there is valuations. And now let me quickly give you a gist of what it means to be an ACCA fresher in other countries. First of all, if you are studying in India, very few times I have seen that without any work experience, you're really going to get an opportunity overseas. However, I have seen certain instances. I know somebody who got a call from Australia by applying on this acccareers.com sitting in India, and he got a 55,000 Australian dollar offer from Melbourne, which he landed up not taking. But there are these kind of rare opportunities. I know so many of our students who are either have pre-decided they're going to go to Dubai, or from the families already in Dubai. They are Indian born. They came here to study. They studied ACCA. They're going to go back to Dubai. So there also you have a lot of these opportunities. One of my friends who's now working in Dubai, she was saying that her team needed to hire ACCS, and they were offering, I think, 15,000 to 18,000 dirhams a month, and that's really it's absolutely substantial, worth enough for anybody. And when you talk about other countries like UK or Canada, I again have people who, after a few years, have landed up going to these countries. So first and foremost, I would urge all of you all to not over index on saying that if I'm doing ACCA, it's because I want to get a job in this country as soon as I'm done with the ACCA. Ideally, it does not do. However, the right way for you to get into this path, and for that matter, for even if you want to work in India, my request is please focus on clearing the exams. The beauty of this qualification is that it's flexible in nature, but most students are taking advantage, and instead of completing it faster, they keep pushing it because it's in their control. That's the point of flexibility. It's like a double-edged sword. Number one, go very quick, as fast as possible to clear the exams. Don't be worried. Don't be afraid. Worst case scenario, if you don't clear, give it again. I know it's sometimes a little expensive and it's not easy for everybody, but unless you clear the exam, the value you want will not come out of it. Second, please get at least, if not 3 full years, at least start with 1 year of experience at the bare minimum without expecting any salary or any ROI upfront. You will for sure be paid. But if you are not doing it for the money and you're really trying, when I worked in a mid-sized firm, I got a lot of opportunity to, everyone was in close quarters. I could work with some senior people. I could work in different industries. I was in audit at that time. I saw diamond industry. I saw the banking industry. I saw the hospitality industry. I saw the hospital industry. I saw all of these in small phases, right? A couple of months I would be sent to do basic auditing. So a lot of exposure you get, right? I also got a little chance to work on Indian taxation. Even though I had not really learned Indian tax, the principles I had learned I could apply, and basically learned a lot about the Indian tax system. So in that was the exposure I got in the mid-sized firm. When I went to PwC, I got a chance to see how massive multinational companies work. I understood professionalism. I understood processes. I understood how to bag big clients. Understood how to represent myself in front of the clients. All of this over and above the technical work that we any which ways do in these kind of jobs. In the first year, and if possible, go for all 3 years. Please don't look at salary. Earning is second, learning should be first. If you do these two things, right, you will very quickly get the hang of what is it that you like, what is it that you're good at, what is it the world is about, how much of your studies can relate to the outside world, how much of what you are believing that you loved theoretically, you actually loved practically. Once you're in the real world now, a lot of answers come to you. You realize, I thought it's something in this direction, but I'm actually better to go down this direction. You think that you can make connections, you can make friends, you can listen to stories of people who are 1 year ahead of you, 5 years ahead of you, 20 years ahead of you, and you can start making sense of it over a year, over 3 years. And that will in turn help you as to what to do next, whether you need to study more, whether you need to move overseas, whether you need to start studying, whether you need to start working in a particular domain, whether you need to take more risks in your life. So much exposure comes once you start. If you can focus on these things, guys, I think whether you stay in India and grow, whether you start your own venture and grow, whether you move overseas and grow, whether you keep all your options open, all of that is available if you understand these aspects. So I hope that you understand the companies, the profile, the salaries, and how you can get there, Indian and international. And if there's anything else, please feel free, leave it in the comments. I'll personally answer these questions for you guys.